Silent Watchers. The observation deck of the Silent Vigil station hung in the void of space, invisible to all but the most sophisticated detection systems. Commander Elena Reyes stood with her hands clasped behind her back, watching the holographic display that showed real-time footage of the Vexari warships bombarding the colony world of Thula 7. Third orbital bombardment this month, Admiral Zhang noted, his weathered face illuminated by the red glow of plasma weapons striking the planet's surface. The Vexari are expanding faster than we anticipated. Elena nodded grimly, and the Thulans barely had spaceflight for a century. They weren't ready for this. For over 300 years, humanity had been the silent watchers of the stars. After achieving faster-than-light travel in 2157, humans had made a startling discovery. They weren't alone in the galaxy. But rather than announcing their presence, Earth's leaders had made a different choice. They would watch, learn, and prepare. The galaxy was a dangerous place. Civilizations rose and fell. Wars erupted across star systems. And through it all, humanity observed, building their understanding and their strength in secret. Hidden outposts like the Silent Vigil monitored dozens of alien civilizations without detection. "Command is calling for an emergency council," Admiral Zhang said, handing Elena a secure datapad. "The Vexari situation has escalated beyond our projections." The Vexari Empire had emerged as the dominant power in this sector over the last 50 years. Technologically advanced and ruthlessly expansionist, they conquered anything in their path. What had begun as border skirmishes had evolved into full-scale annexation of neighboring civilizations. "I'll prepare the briefing," Elena said, accepting the datapad. "But I already know what they're going to ask." Zhang's expression grew serious. "It may be time, Commander." Elena turned back to the holographic display. Another Vexari battlecruiser moved into position above Thula 7, its weapons charging. She'd spent her entire 20-year career in the Shadow Fleet, watching other civilizations from humanity's hidden network. The directive had always been clear: observe, don't interfere. But things were changing. The High Council chamber within Olympus Station was rarely used for in-person meetings. As humanity's hidden command center, buried within the asteroid belt of Earth's solar system, it typically hosted virtual conferences with representatives from colonies spread across hundreds of light years. Today, however, the circular chamber was filled with the most powerful people in human space. The Vexari have conquered 12 civilizations in the past 20 standard years, Elena reported, standing before the assembled leaders. Their technological advancement curve has steepened with each acquisition. They don't merely conquer, they assimilate and improve upon the technologies of those they defeat. Director Isabel Chen, head of the Earth Unification Government, leaned forward. "And their projected path." Elena activated a three-dimensional star map. Red markers spread like a virus across the galaxy. At current expansion rates, they'll reach the outer boundaries of our monitored space within 5 years. The Lumina system would be first. Murmurs spread through the chamber. The Lumina were one of the most peaceful species humanity had observed. Philosophers and artists who had achieved interplanetary travel, but focused more on cultural achievement than military might. The Vexari would roll over them without resistance, Admiral Zhang added. Director Chen's eyes narrowed. "You're both suggesting we break isolation protocol." It wasn't a question. 300 years ago, we chose to hide our presence because we were vulnerable, Elena said carefully. We didn't know what threats existed among the stars. But now we do. And we're no longer vulnerable. The room fell silent. Breaking isolation protocol wasn't a small matter. For centuries, humanity had developed in secret, building technologies and defenses without the complications of interstellar politics or conflicts. Their ships were undetectable, their weapons tested only in the most remote regions of space. To the rest of the galaxy, Earth was just another primitive world with rudimentary satellite technology. If we reveal ourselves to stop the Vexari, everything changes, General Santos cautioned. We can never go back to the shadows. If we don't, Elena countered, We'll have to watch as they slaughter the Lumina. And then what? Wait until they reach our colonies. Hope they never discover us. The Vexari reverse engineer every technology they encounter. It's only a matter of time before they develop something that can detect our presence. Director Chen rose from her seat, silencing the debate. She walked slowly to the star map, studying the projected expansion of the Vexari Empire. Her hand passed through the holographic representation of the Lumina homeworld, a beautiful blue-green planet orbiting a yellow star. 300 years ago, our ancestors made a choice based on fear, she said quietly. They feared what lurked among the stars, so they hid. But that's not who we are anymore. She turned to face the council. Prepare first contact protocols, she ordered. But quietly, I want options for both diplomatic and military responses. If we're stepping onto the galactic stage, we're going to do it right. Admiral Zhang nodded. And the Lumina. Director Chen's expression hardened. We won't stand by and watch another genocide. Position our stealth fleets at the edge of their system. If the Vexari attack before we're ready to reveal ourselves. She paused. Well, the Vexari will discover that not all species are so easy to conquer. As the meeting adjourned, Elena remained by the star map, watching the simulated paths of Vexari expansion. After centuries of watching, humanity was about to cast aside the shadows. Nervous? Admiral Zhang asked, joining her. Elena shook her head. I've spent my life studying these civilizations. The Vexari are bullies who've never faced a real challenge. They think they're the most advanced species in the galaxy. A small smile crossed her face. I think it's time they learned they're not. Aboard the Vexari flagship Eternal Dominion, Supreme Commander Krevax watched with satisfaction as another planetary system fell under Imperial control. The Fulans had surrendered after minimal resistance, their primitive orbital defenses no match for Vexari weaponry. Another glorious conquest for the Empire, High General Zorvek declared, his scaled skin gleaming under the command deck's lights. The Fulan mining operations will triple our quadrant's resource production. Krevax nodded, his 6 eyes blinking in sequence, a sign of pleased contemplation in Vexari body language. Have the integration teams begin the assimilation process. I want their orbital facilities repurposed within a standard month. For 50 years, the Vexari had expanded their territory without meaningful opposition. Lesser species either submitted or were crushed. The natural order of the galaxy, as far as Krevax was concerned. Supreme Commander, a communications officer interrupted, we're detecting unusual energy signatures from the Lumina border. Krevax tilted his armored head. The Lumina were next on the Empire's acquisition list, a resource-rich system with minimal defenses. Their cultural artifacts alone would fetch enormous prices in the Empire's markets. Define unusual, he ordered. The officer hesitated. Unknown configuration, sir. Not matching any patterns in our database. For a brief moment, something like concern flickered across Krevax's features. But it passed quickly. After all, what could possibly threaten the Vexari Empire? Prepare the invasion fleet, he commanded. The Lumina will make a fine addition to our growing realm. Little did he know that eyes had been watching, human eyes, and that the balance of power in the galaxy was about to shift dramatically. First contact. The Lumina homeworld of Elysium hung like a jewel in space, its atmosphere swirling with iridescent clouds that reflected its binary star's light in prismatic patterns. From the bridge of the cloaked human vessel Prometheus, Captain Maya Ortiz watched as the first Vexari scout ships entered the system. They're earlier than we expected, she noted, turning to her XO, Commander Jackson. The Vexari must be eager to claim this system. Jackson nodded grimly. Lumina defenses are minimal, a few orbital platforms, nothing that could stop even a single Vexari destroyer. Maya had spent months studying both species. The Lumina were philosophers, artists and scientists who had achieved spaceflight 2 centuries ago, but focused their technology on enriching their culture rather than warfare. Their cities were architectural marvels, their art treasured throughout their neighboring systems, They had established peaceful trade with several nearby civilizations, none of which would save them from the Vexari. Status of our fleet? Maya asked. 7 stealth destroyers positioned at the system's edge, Jackson replied. The Athena and Ares battle carriers are standing by in faster-than-light range. We can have 50 more ships here within 20 minutes if needed. Maya nodded, examining the tactical display. And Director Chen's orders. Observe first. Attempt diplomatic contact if possible. Intervene if the Vexari initiate hostilities against Lumina civilian targets. A communications officer interrupted. Captain, we're detecting transmissions from the Lumina homeworld. They're broadcasting on all frequencies. It appears to be a distress call. Let me hear it, Maya ordered. The bridge speakers came to life with a melodic, multi-tone voice. To all peaceful civilizations who may receive this message, we, the Lumina Collective, face an imminent threat from Vexari forces entering our system. We have no quarrel with the Vexari Empire and offer friendship, but our intelligence suggests they intend conquest, not diplomacy. We ask for any assistance or mediation from those who value peace. We wish no conflict, only dialogue. The message repeated in several languages. Maya's expression hardened. The Vexari are jamming their transmissions, the communications officer reported. The message can't penetrate beyond this system. But we received it, Maya said quietly. And we can answer. She straightened her uniform and made a decision. Prepare for first contact protocols. Power up active sensors and communications. It's time humanity introduced itself to the galaxy. On the bridge of the Vexari command ship Sovereign Might, Fleet Commander Dravik watched as his vessels moved into formation around the Lumina homeworld. The primitive defenses of these philosopher aliens posed no threat to Vexari might. Commence standard intimidation barrage, he ordered. Target their orbital platforms, show them the futility of resistance. His tactical officer nodded, but before the order could be carried out, alerts blared across the bridge. Unknown vessel decloaking directly ahead. The sensor officer shouted, his voice rising with alarm. It's massive. Commander. Dravik spun toward the main view screen as a ship materialized from nowhere. It was unlike any vessel he had ever seen. Sleek, angular, with no visible weapons arrays yet radiating power that his sensors struggled to quantify. Impossible, he hissed. No cloaking technology can hide a vessel of that size from our sensors. The communications array lit up. They're hailing us, Commander, on all frequencies and in perfect Vexari language. Dravik hesitated only briefly. On screen. Let's see what fool dares to interfere with Imperial business. The view screen shifted to show a strange alien, bipedal, with smooth skin and no scales, wearing a dark uniform with unfamiliar insignia. Vexari Fleet, this is Captain Maya Ortiz of the Earth Alliance vessel Prometheus. You have entered Lumina sovereign space with hostile intent. We request you stand down your weapons and withdraw your forces. Dravik's 6 eyes blinked rapidly, a sign of surprise, then amusement. I am Fleet Commander Dravik of the Vexari Empire. We have no record of any Earth Alliance in this sector or beyond. Identify your species and explain your presence before we consider you hostile as well. The alien, this human, showed no sign of intimidation. We are humanity, from the planet Earth. We have observed galactic affairs for centuries without interference, but your empire's expansionist aggression has forced our hand. The Lumina are under our protection now. Laughter erupted across the Vexari bridge. These primitives, these humans, thought they could challenge the might of the Empire with a single vessel. Your ship is impressive, human, Dravik conceded, but you face a fleet of 30 Vexari warships. Whatever hidden technology allowed you to approach undetected, you are still vastly outnumbered. Stand aside or be destroyed with the Lumina. The human's expression remained unchanged. We were hoping for diplomacy, Commander. But if you insist on aggression, you should know that your sensors are currently detecting only one of our vessels. With that statement, Alerts blared again as 7 more ships decloaked around the Vexari fleet, each larger and more imposing than the last. For the first time in his long military career, Dravik felt a flicker of uncertainty. On Elysium, the Lumina High Council watched in astonishment as unknown ships appeared to confront the Vexari fleet. First Minister Ilara, her translucent skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns of surprise and hope, turned to her advisors. "Who are these newcomers?" she asked. "Have our prayers been answered?" Science Minister Thelos studied the sensor readings. "They call themselves humans, from a world called Earth. We have no records of this species in our archives. They said they've been watching." Security Minister Varen noted, his patterns shifting to caution. "For centuries. How is that possible? And why reveal themselves now?" Before anyone could theorize further, a new communication reached them, a direct message from the human vessel. "People of Elysium, I am Captain Maya Ortiz of Earth. We come in peace and friendship. We have been silent neighbors in this galaxy for many years, but we can no longer stand by while the Vexari threaten peaceful civilizations. If you are willing, we offer our protection and alliance." Ilara's skin rippled with patterns of deep blue, the Lumina expression of profound emotion. "Respond immediately. Tell these humans that we welcome their intervention and wish to establish diplomatic relations." As the message was sent, the Lumina Council watched the standoff in orbit. For the first time since the Vexari had begun their expansion, someone had stepped forward to challenge them. Back aboard the Prometheus, Maya received confirmation that the Lumina had accepted their offer of protection. The Vexari fleet remained in position, weapons charged but not firing. "They're assessing us," Jackson observed, "trying to determine if we're bluffing." Maya nodded. "Let's give them something more to think about. Signal the Athena and Ares to drop out of FTL at coordinates Alpha 7. Moments later, 2 massive battle carriers materialized at the edge of the system, each dwarfing even the largest Vexari vessel. Fighter craft launched from their bays, forming precise defensive patterns. The communications officer turned to Maya. "Captain, Commander Dravik is hailing us again." "On screen," Maya ordered. The Vexari commander's expression was now carefully controlled, but Maya could read the tension in his posture. "Your display is impressive, human," Dravik said. "But the Vexari Empire does not surrender. This system has been marked for imperial expansion. Your interference risks war with the most powerful civilization in the galaxy." Maya leaned forward in her captain's chair. "Commander Dravik, humanity has no desire for conflict, but we've watched your expansion long enough to know that you understand only strength. So let me be perfectly clear. The Lumina system is now protected space. Any aggressive action against them will be considered an act of war against Earth and all our allies." "Allies?" Dravik scoffed. "You appeared from nowhere. You have no allies." "Actually," Maya countered, "we've been watching and waiting for centuries. We know this galaxy far better than you might think. The choice is yours. Commander, retreat now and report to your superiors that the situation has changed, or test our resolve and discover just how prepared humanity is for this moment." The Vexari commander's eyes narrowed. "This is not over, human. The Supreme Imperator will hear of this interference." "I'm counting on it," Maya replied calmly. "We look forward to formal diplomatic relations with the Vexari Empire. After all, the galaxy is large enough for all of us, if we respect each other's boundaries." The communication ended. For several tense minutes, the Vexari fleet maintained their position. Then, slowly, they began to turn away from Elysium, their engines flaring as they retreated to the system's edge. "They're withdrawing," Jackson reported, unable to keep the surprise from his voice. "For now," Maya cautioned, "but this was just the opening move. The real game is about to begin." As the Vexari disappeared into faster-than-light travel, Maya ordered a secure channel open to Earth. "Director Chen, this is Captain Ortiz. First contact has been established with both the Lumina and the Vexari. The Vexeri have withdrawn temporarily, but they'll return with a larger force once they report to their leadership. Chen's response was immediate. Understood, Captain. How did they react to our presence? Maya allowed herself a small smile. Exactly as predicted. They underestimated us. They think we're newcomers who've somehow developed advanced technology. They have no idea what they're really dealing with. Good, Chen replied. Maintain position and begin diplomatic proceedings with the Lumina. The game has changed, Captain. After 3 centuries of watching, humanity has finally stepped onto the galactic stage. As Maya acknowledged the order, she looked out at the stars beyond her viewport. For generations, humans had hidden their true capabilities, building and preparing in secret. Now, that long silence was over, and the galaxy would never be the same. The demonstration. Supreme Imperator Zexcalor, ruler of the Vexeri Empire, stood motionless as the holographic recording of the human vessels played for the 3rd time. His inner circle of advisors and military leaders remained silent, awaiting his reaction. These humans, he finally said, his voice dangerously calm. They appear from nowhere, with technology that evaded our best detection systems and presumed to dictate terms to the Empire. Fleet Commander Dravik bowed his head. Imperator, their vessels displayed capabilities we've never encountered. Their cloaking technology alone is centuries beyond our own. One system, Zexcalorist. They protect one system of philosopher weaklings, and you retreated. It was a tactical withdrawal, High General Zorvik interjected. Commander Dravik made the correct decision. We know nothing of these humans' true capabilities or numbers. We needed information before engagement. The Imperator's 6 eyes narrowed to slits. And what information have you gathered in the 14 cycles since this encounter? Science Minister Velthrak stepped forward, activating a new holographic display. Very little, Imperator. Their ships vanished from our sensors after the confrontation. We found no trace of their worlds or outposts in any systems we control. It's as if they simply don't exist. Everything exists, Zexcalor snarled. Find them. Military Intelligence Director Krevnax cleared his throat. We have intercepted communications between the humans and the Lumina. They are establishing formal diplomatic ties. More concerning, the humans have reached out to several other civilizations in neighboring sectors. They're building a coalition, Zork realized. Against us, the Imperator concluded. How many fleets can we assemble within 20 cycles? Zorvek straightened. 3 grand fleets, Imperator. Over 200 capital ships and support vessels. Prepare them all, Zexcalor ordered. These humans wish to challenge the Empire. Then let them face the full might of Vexeri power. We will crush them so completely that their name will be forgotten before it was ever truly known. On Earth, the Global Defense Council reviewed the latest intelligence from their stealth observation platforms near Vexeri space. They're mobilizing everything, Admiral Zhang reported. 3 grand fleets converging on the Lumina system. The Vexeri are committing to a full-scale show of force. Director Chen nodded thoughtfully. As expected, the Vexeri built their empire on intimidation, as much as actual conquest. They can't allow our challenge to go unanswered. With respect, Director, General Santos interjected. We're talking about over 200 Vexeri warships. Even with our technological advantages, that's a significant force. Elena Reyes, newly promoted to fleet commander, studied the tactical projections, but still only a fraction of their total military strength. They're holding back, hedging their bets. The Vexari still think we're newcomers, Chen explained. A previously unknown civilization with impressive but limited resources. They expect to overwhelm us with superior numbers. And when they discover that's not the case, Santos asked. Chen's expression hardened. That's precisely what this demonstration is about, General. For 3 centuries, humanity has developed in secret, building technologies and defenses without the constraints of interstellar politics or conflicts. It's time the galaxy understood what that means. She turned to Commander Reyes. How many ships do we have positioned near Lumina space? 32 vessels, including the Prometheus and our 2 battle carriers. More than enough for what we have planned. And our new allies. The Lumina have agreed to full military cooperation. 7 other systems that suffered under Vexari aggression have pledged support, though most have limited military assets to contribute. Chen nodded. Good. It's time to execute Phase 2. Let's show the Vexari and the rest of the galaxy exactly what humanity is capable of. 3 Vexari grand fleets dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Lumina system, their formation so vast that they blotted out the stars behind them. At their center, the Imperator's personal flagship, the Eternal Dominion, dwarfed even the largest battle cruisers. On its command deck, Supreme Imperator Zex Killer surveyed the holographic display showing the Lumina homeworld and the 8 human vessels in orbit around it. 8 ships, he said with contempt. They faced the might of the Empire with 8 ships. Fleet Commander Dravik studied the readings carefully. The same vessels as before, Imperator. No reinforcements. Then their display of confidence was nothing but bluster. Zex Kalor concluded. Open a channel to their command vessel. The view screen activated to show Captain Maya Ortiz on the bridge of the Prometheus. If she was intimidated by the overwhelming force arrayed against her, she showed no sign of it. Supreme Imperator Zex Kalor, she acknowledged with a formal nod. Humanity greets you. I see no greetings, human. The Imperator replied coldly. I see only trespassers interfering with Imperial expansion. You have one opportunity to withdraw from this system and surrender your vessels for inspection. Comply, and your crew may live as subjects of the Empire. Maya's expression remained composed. With respect, Imperator, we made our position clear during our first encounter. The Lumina are under Earth's protection. We have since established formal alliance treaties with them and several other neighboring civilizations. Treaties that the Empire does not recognize, Zex Kalor snapped. Your protection is meaningless. Look around you, human. You faced the 3 greatest fleets in the galaxy with a handful of ships. Whatever technology allowed you to impress Commander Dravik, it cannot save you now. Numbers aren't everything, Imperator, Maya replied calmly. We hoped for resolution, but we are prepared for alternatives. I ask once more, withdraw your forces and agree to recognize Lumina sovereignty. Laughter erupted across the Vexari command deck. The Imperator's mouth twisted into what passed for a smile among his kind. You have courage, human, but courage without strength is merely foolishness. You have 30 minutes to reconsider before we open fire. The communication ended. Zex Kalor turned to his commanders. Prepare all weapons systems. When the time expires, I want those human ships destroyed in the first volley. Aboard the Prometheus, Maya turned to her senior staff. They reacted exactly as predicted. Commander Jackson nodded. Arrogance has always been the Vexari's greatest weakness. They can't conceive of a force superior to their own. Are we ready for Phase 2? Maya asked. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant Commander Ramirez, nodded. All systems primed. The containment field is calibrated and synchronized with our sister ships. Just give the word, Captain. Maya opened a secure channel to Earth. Director Chen, the Vexari have arrived in force and rejected diplomatic resolution, requesting final authorization for demonstration protocol. Chen's response was immediate. Authorization granted, Captain. Show them what humanity is truly capable of. Maya acknowledged and closed the channel. She took a moment to survey her bridge crew. The men and women who would execute humanity's first major demonstration of power on the galactic stage. Begin the countdown, she ordered, and signal our allies on Elysium to activate their planetary shields. As the 30-minute deadline approached, the Vexari fleet moved into attack formation. Weapons systems charged across 200 warships, targeting solutions locked onto the 8 human vessels. Time expired, High General Zorvik announced. Firing solutions confirmed. Commence attack. the Imperator commanded. But before the order could be carried out, alarms blared across every ship in the Vexeri fleet. "Energy surge," the science officer shouted. Massive power readings from the human vessels. On the tactical display, the 8 human ships had begun to emit a strange energy field that expanded outward in a perfect sphere. "What is this?" the Imperator demanded. "Some kind of weapon." Before anyone could respond, the field passed through the first line of Vexeri ships. And as it did, something impossible happened. They stopped. Not damaged, not destroyed. Simply frozen in space, their engines and weapons suddenly inert. "Status report." Zexkalor roared as the field continued to expand toward his flagship. "Ships are reporting complete power failure," Zorvik replied, his voice rising with alarm. "But it's not damage. It's as if their energy is being contained somehow." The field continued its expansion, passing through ship after ship like a wave of silence. Vessel after vessel fell dark, immobilized but intact. "Evasive maneuvers," the Imperator ordered, but it was too late. The field reached the Eternal Dominion, and instantly every system on the massive flagship went dark. Emergency lighting activated as backup systems struggled to maintain life support. Through the viewport, Zexkiller watched in disbelief as the energy field continued outward, eventually encompassing his entire fleet. 200 of the Empire's most powerful warships, now floating helplessly in space. The communication system crackled as a single channel remained operative, opened remotely by the humans. "Vexeri fleet, this is Captain Ortiz. What you are experiencing is a contained zero-point energy suppression field. It selectively inhibits artificial power generation while leaving life support systems intact. Your vessels are unharmed, but will remain immobilized for approximately 6 hours." The Imperator's rage was incandescent. "You dare." "This is not an attack, Imperator," Maya continued, her voice level. "It is a demonstration. Had we wished to destroy your fleet, we could have done so. Instead, we chose to show restraint." A new holographic image appeared on the darkened bridge of the Eternal Dominion. A star map showing hundreds of small points of light scattered throughout Vexeri territory. "These are human stealth observation platforms," Maya explained. "They've been monitoring your empire for decades. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your military capabilities down to the last detail." The map shifted to show new markers, larger, moving points that represented vessels. "And these are just a fraction of humanity's fleet, currently positioned throughout the galaxy. While your ships remain disabled, I invite you to consider what this means for the future of our civilizations." The communication ended, leaving the Imperator and his commanders in stunned silence. For the first time in the history of the Vexeri Empire, they faced a power they could not simply overwhelm or intimidate. And somewhere in the darkness of his flagship, Supreme Imperator Zexkiller felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. New Galactic Order. 6 standard months after what became known as the Lumina demonstration, representatives from 27 civilizations gathered on neutral ground, a space station constructed specifically for this historic summit in the previously unoccupied Nexus system. The Grand Conclave Chamber was an architectural marvel, with delegates arranged in a perfect circle to symbolize equality. No species sat higher than another, no position conveyed greater status. It was a deliberate departure from the hierarchical structures that had defined galactic politics under Vexeri influence. Director Isabel Chen, representing Earth, stood at one of the speaking platforms as she concluded her address. For 3 centuries, humanity chose observation over interaction. We witnessed the rise and fall of empires, the beauty of diverse cultures, and yes, the horrors of conquest. That era of silence has ended. Today, we propose a new beginning, a galactic concordat based on mutual respect, shared prosperity, and the fundamental right of all sentient species to self-determination. Murmurs spread through the chamber as translation systems conveyed her words to delegates from across the galaxy. Some nodded in agreement, Others whispered among themselves. First Minister Ilara of the Lumina, her skin glowing with patterns of formal ceremony, spoke next. 6 months ago, my people faced extinction at the hands of the Vexari Empire. Today, we sit as equals in this historic assembly. The protection offered by humanity saved not only our civilization, but opened the possibility for a truly cooperative galactic community. All eyes turned to the Vexari delegation. Their representatives were not military commanders, but diplomats, a significant change from their previous approach to interstellar relations. Lead emissary Travel rose to speak, his posture formal but lacking the intimidating stance typical of his species. The Vexari Empire acknowledges the shifting realities of our shared galaxy, he began carefully. The events at Elysium have demonstrated that the old methods of expansion are no longer viable. While we maintain our sovereignty over current imperial territories, we are prepared to discuss new frameworks for cooperation and non-aggression. It was as close to concession as the proud Vexari would come. Everyone in the chamber understood the unspoken truth. The Empire had retreated not out of philosophical change, but pragmatic necessity. The humans had proven themselves too powerful to challenge directly. After the Lumina demonstration, the Vexari had discovered just how thoroughly they had been observed. Human stealth platforms had monitored every major imperial world, every military installation, every fleet movement, all without detection. The psychological impact had been devastating to imperial leadership. How could they fight an enemy who had studied them for centuries, who knew every strength and weakness of their civilization? The discussions continued for days, with passionate debates about borders, trade agreements, technology sharing, and conflict resolution mechanisms. Through it all, humanity served not as conquerors imposing their will, but as facilitators, guiding without dominating, suggesting without demanding. In a private chamber adjacent to the main conclave, Director Chen met with Supreme Imperator Zex Kalor, his first personal appearance since the demonstration. Gone was the overwhelming arrogance that had defined Vexari leadership. In its place was a measured caution. Your proposal for the Concordat is ambitious, the Imperator noted, studying the document before him. Many civilizations will struggle to adapt to such rapid change. Chen nodded. Change is always difficult, but the alternative, continued conflict and conquest, benefits no one in the long term, not even the Vexari. Zex Kalor's 6 eyes fixed on her. You humiliated the Empire, our fleets, our technology, rendered useless in moments. You could have conquered us. That was never our goal, Chen replied. Humanity didn't emerge from hiding to replace one empire with another. We've seen where that path leads. Then what is your true